Civic History, and today we'll be discussing the Electoral College. Now, to get out of the way, America's weird when it comes to elections and the way we organize our government. We're a presidential system, which is not the majority throughout the world. We have non-direct elections for the presidency, and our elections are extremely often compared to other nations. And what I mean by our elections are extremely often, we have local elections every year. We have elections that decide the control of government every 2 years. We have elections that decide the head of state and head of government every four. We have elections often. So the Electoral College was, like most of the Constitution, an accident and a compromise. Some founders thought that we should trust the people to elect the president. Others thought the president should be elected by the Senate. Others thought of an electoral college, but it would be the state legislatures and the House and Senate working together to elect a president. So in the end, they came up with our glorious Electoral College. So we're also not the first nation to have an Electoral College. The Pope is elected by an Electoral College. Right here is the election of a Holy Roman Empire by the Prince Electors. The Kingdom of Hanover in Europe, which is now a city in Germany, used to be an elected monarch. Many of the early republics of Italy were elector republics. Even France had one for a while until they switched to a two-round popular vote. So another question that's often asked about the Electoral College before we get into it is, who exactly are electors? And basically your qualifications are, you have to be an American citizen, you can't be a currently serving politician in the cabinet or a member of the House and Senate that's currently serving. Uh, President Bill Clinton served as an elector for his wife. Barack Obama served as an elector for Joe Biden. Yeah. Also, so that's why I have down the bottom that they're a mix of failed politicians and other notable party officials from your state. So your governor, that person who lost an election but was still came really close. Yeah. So here's how the Constitution describes the Electoral College. And I have my favorite president and vice presidential duo right there. And what does that even mean? Well, essentially, it describes that the way the Electoral College works in modern days is when I go in, I voted in my first presidential election 3 years ago, sorry. I went and voted, I clicked on my candidate, and I was casting a vote for their elector. So, on election night, or as it rolled up, Friday/Saturday, depending on what newspaper you went by, the election was declared. It was stated that X person won Michigan. We all know who that was. His electors, Joe Biden's electors, were selected as the electoral slate for my state. So, the Constitution/federal law mandates that on the first Monday after the second Wednesday in December, the electors meet in their respective state capitals, and the election for the president in the state of Michigan, Joe Biden's electors, placed their electoral votes in a box and then mailed them to Washington. There's two oddballs. Maine and Nebraska do not grant all electors the same way. You get 2 electoral votes for winning the state's popular vote, and then you can get the other 2 electoral votes are decided by who wins which congressional district. So, for example, Donald Trump won Maine's 2nd congressional district, which is the northern part of the state, so he got that electoral vote. But Joe Biden won Maine's popular vote and the 1st congressional district, so he got 3 electoral votes. In Nebraska, Donald Trump won the state's popular vote, so he got 2. he won Nebraska's first and third congressional district, but Joe Biden won the second, so Joe Biden got an electoral vote from Nebraska. Barack Obama did too. Michigan used to be an oddball. In one election in 1892, Michigan's electoral votes was decided proportionally. So even though Harrison won the state, Grover Cleveland got 6 electoral votes out of it. Then, on January 6th, a date that now has infamy to it, the vice president presides over a joint session of Congress where they count the votes and then they certify them. Basically, each state, the ranking members of the House and Senate Rules Committees stand up there. The chairs and the ranking members stand up there and they go, "Yep, I've got the electoral votes here from Massachusetts. They look the way they're supposed to. Anyone object? No? They're counted." Now, a senator and congressman can object to the counting of the votes. That just means there's 2 hours of debate and then they vote about whether or not to accept the rejection of the votes, and they never have. Except for in some early presidential elections after the Civil War, where there was some debate about whether it was ethical for, Louisiana to have a presidential election 2 weeks after it was liberated by the Union Army. And then the nightmare scenario. In the case of a tie, or for some reason the votes couldn't be counted, whatever, the president is elected by the House of Representatives, and the vice president is elected by the Senate. This is what happened in 1824 with John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, though, winning the popular vote and a plurality of electoral votes. He did not win a majority. Therefore, the House went and decided the president was going to be John Quincy Adams because he made a deal with Henry Clay. He was Speaker of the House. Therefore, that's how we have the Democratic Party. And now there's some debate if the founders actually intended for the population to vote for who for who the electors should be. From Justice Joseph Story, he sort of said it was a historical insult to have the idea that in his mind and some of the founders' mind that the electors would just be like the great and the good, and they'd sit around someday in December and go, "I think we'll elect this man president." So the problems with the Electoral College. The big one that everyone knows is that the person who gets the most votes doesn't always win. And there's been 5 elections, and it's only happened to one party and Andrew Jackson, so one party, that they have won the popular vote and did not win the presidency. Other problems is it's argued that it's anti-democratic, it gives states too much power, the election should not come down to Florida, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona, and Wisconsin every single time. There's other debates that, what if my state legislator just says that we don't, deserve to vote on the presidency, as that's been brought up now in the age of now. So the defense is actually it's a good thing to have state influence. Uh, we're a very stable democracy. I put air quotes there around that. And that, well, we've always done it this way, so why change it? I don't really agree with most of these defenses. I think they're kind of dumb and not very good. Like, would it be really that bad if we had a popular vote system? Would you in, say, Delaware feel any different than, say, someone living in Florida? That's just me. Now, there has been an attempt to create a national popular vote compact. So states have a power under the Constitution to enter into pacts with one another. And this pact would be these states would award their electoral votes based on who won the national popular vote. It kicks in once 270 electoral votes of states have joined, Currently, they have 195 and another 104 state and another 104 electoral vote states. There's been a motion or a bill to join this. Some of them it seems more likely than others, such as Minnesota, I think would be more likely to join the interstate vote compact than say Florida would be. And then 239. There's also some movement that Michigan might join now that they have a Democratic state house and state senate, but who knows? Anyways, thank you